Center with two members of Spice of Life. We were going to do this interview at the Blue Max, but for some reason it's quarter to 7 and nobody else was at the Blue Max to let us in. So instead of standing outside freezing, we're here keeping warm. And if the management of Blue Max are watching this, next time you invite a band from Vancouver to come up to Kamloops, make sure the club's open when they get here. I mean, it just doesn't look good. I mean, these guys are going to go back to Vancouver and say, don't go to Kamloops. They lock you out of the clubs. How the heck are they supposed to do a sound check? Anyhow, I'm here with Dave.
Hi, you want me to take the microphone? Just take it away.
Dave
Lampron. That's right.
And
I'm the guitar player.
Guitar player.
That's right.
And
Greg Eldridge. I'm the bass player.
Bass player. And
sometimes we switch. Like halfway through the tour, I might just switch.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I might become the bass player, and he might be the guitar player.
Oh, that's all right.
Sure.
Anyhow, first thing I want to guess is how long have you guys been around? Have you been around for quite a while, or?
Yeah, we've been. It'll be about 3 years, in I guess in May or June. So we were originally formed in Montreal, and we stayed out in Montreal for 2 years, or just over 2 years, and we moved out to Vancouver last August.
And what caused the move? Why did you make the move out to Vancouver instead of, say, Toronto or?
Toronto's really lame. Would you want to move there?
Well, just like we were kind of like we went we went far, pretty fast in Montreal, and we just figured that we kind of plateaued a little bit. So some of the things in Montreal, like the music industry was kind of going a little stale, and everything was getting a bit stale. So we just figured, like, we just kind of get away from everything and start everything brand new,
Yeah.
And we haven't lost anything in Montreal because like we're going to be back there in like 2-3 weeks, and we're going to play to like 800 or 900 people there. So we haven't lost any fans there. Contrary, like it's a special event when we come, every 3-4 months type.
Well, how do you like the scene in Vancouver? Is it opened up wide for you guys? Have you guys played a lot?
It's pretty happening scene in Vancouver. It's like it's younger. The whole music industry in Vancouver is younger and less jaded than in Montreal. And things are just a little bit more interesting right now.
Oh yeah. And how does your sound fit in? First of all, I guess, how would you guys describe your sound, just in case nobody's ever heard of these guys before?
Just good. It's good sound.
Kind of like cross between Stomp and Tom Connors and
Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash and
Bad Brains.
Bad Brains.
Yeah, I have heard you guys described as grunge. Do you sort of fit in with the Seattle type sound, or?
Well, that's another thing that people ask us about all the time. Just like that, what was in the paper on Sunday.
We've never even been to Seattle before.
Yeah, I don't even know where it is. So. Well, listen, like it just so happened that that's the scene that kind of exploded, right?
Oh yeah.
And like we say, it's not something like that's in the drinking water in Seattle that just makes all that music sound like that.
Yeah, there's lots. Lots of like pretty grungy sort of noisy bands like like Sonic Youth are around way before Seattle ever.
Yeah, totally. And look, Montreal's got its share of like we got Voivod and we've got the Doughboys and
Oh yeah, there's Sloan and whatever.
Yeah, that's out in Halifax, So I think that a lot of that music just came about from independent scenes and people not being able to afford big budgets for albums and people not necessarily being the best musicians and people trying to like blend a lot of sounds together, hardcore and metal and some of the like punk, earlier punk stuff.
Oh, yeah. Are you guys have a lot of different influences, or are you all pretty?
Oh yeah, a lot of different influences really.
Well, he's the biggest Neil Young fan on the face of the planet.
Oh, right on.
Yes, indeed.
So what else? We're both big Black Sabbath fans. What else? Like just in the band, like in the tour, like we'll listen to anything. Like anything from like Bad Brains to Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, we've got like a Glenn Miller tape,
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah, totally. Well, you figure after like going like traveling like 4,000 or 5,000 miles, and you're playing like some heavy music every single night, and being in clubs every single night with the pounding stuff. It's like it's kind of nice to listen to some kind of jazz or something.
Yeah, you want to hop in the band and pop White Zombie or whatever, and tape deck and listen to that for another like 4 hours.
Yeah, great.
It's enough for driving nuts.
So who does most of the songwriting? You guys share that pretty well, or is that?
Well, I guess it kind of goes through stages. Like basically, the first stage will be like either Greg or I'll have like a lot of the song, like either just a riff or some parts like all put together. Then we'll come into the jam, kind of present that, and everyone will kind of like, dissect it a bit, smooth off the edges and stuff like that, And then once that's all smoothed over, Jean-Marc, our singer, is basically he's got carte blanche with like all the lyrics and all the melodies and stuff. So that's usually how things come across.
Oh, yeah. And where did you come up with the title of your latest CD? I guess you brought one copy along with you. Where did you come up with the title of Next Left Albuquerque?
Said, hey, let's call it Next Left Albuquerque.
It's kind of a drunken thing, you know. It's kind of like, well, we've got a deadline, and what do we call the album?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We didn't put a lot of thought into a lot of things in this album.
Actually, I was just thinking, Junior Gone Wild have a cover just like that.
Yeah. Well, we saw that just as we were putting out this album, somebody showed us a Junior Gone Wild poster, and we're kind of like, hey, wait a sec, you know.
Yeah.
But basically, everything with the CD was done ourselves, so you can almost tell like the graphics aren't like up to par and stuff like that. There's a lot of things that we change, especially about like the graphics and stuff of the CD right now. Oh, yeah. But what's in it? There's a lot of like interesting things that's inside of it. So.
Did you guys record that in Vancouver or is that
no,
Montreal?
Actually, Montreal.
Oh yeah. How is the recording scene in Montreal? Like, I'd really have to get more into that. What's the scene out there like?
Pretty impressive.
Is there a lot of competition among the bands, or are there a lot of bands?
Well, you see, what's happened since we moved is like there's been like 3 clubs that have shut down.
Yeah.
You know, there used to be a club called the Terminal, which shut down. There was the Brick, which is like a kind of like a place where you had like a kind of more popular acts that weren't big enough for arenas, and you had the Fufun Electric, which is most
back
probably
open again.
Yeah, it's back open again, but like their booking is still up in the air type thing. And
was there one massive place that just closed?
Yeah, the massive place is the Brick.
Yeah,
it was like like a 2,000 seat place that just like shut down, and now it's reopened as a dance club or something like that.
Yeah, it's really lame.
Is there a lot of competition between English and French, or is that pretty well accepted?
Well, I
think music, you mean, or not really.
Well, not really. I just think that most of the industry there is French. You know, because there's a lot of like French artists that people don't know about at all out here in BC or whatever that they actually sell like 100 or 200,000 albums.
They're big there and nobody knows anything
They're
about
huge, like absolutely huge. Like they'll play like places like a 15,000 seat arena and stuff in Quebec, but like once you cross the Ontario border, they're absolutely unheard of. So there's actually a big scene going on for that.
That's sort of a shame. But is there also a lot of more influence from the States, say in Montreal and Interstate?
There's a lot more, I think, influence from the States over in Vancouver.
Oh, really?
The whole Seattle thing, and like it seems to be like more one scene. The Washington State and Idaho and BC seems to be kind of like one kind of. As soon as you cross those mountains, it's kind of like a.
Montreal's closer to the East Coast scene. It's closer to like the New York City scene type thing than the West Coast scene for sure. The attitude and everything.
And you mentioned like when you play Montreal, expect to fill up big halls and whatnot in Montreal and stuff, and have a good following out there. How are you accepted over the rest of the? Have you guys toured the country?
This is the second tour for this album. So we did one tour in November.
It's off and on. I mean, we have places that are like we're pretty happening in Edmonton right now actually, and.
Well, it's weird. Like that's another thing. I mentioned to Bonnie in the article there on Sunday is that there's some places that we're going to draw like 800 or 900 people, and the next night we could draw 3 people. You know what I mean? And see, that was one thing that also happened like when we were coming out here. Is that hey, stop horsing around.
That's the spice of life we're listening to in the background there, in case nobody caught on.
That's our new video.
That's our video right there.
It's funny that
and I think they kind of like changed it a bit. They didn't really want it to come out that way, but
we won't even tell you how much money we had to pay Whitney Houston to be in our video.
Yeah, totally. And how many favors we had to do her.
Yeah.
Sure.
Favors we had to do her.
Anyhow, what the hell were we talking about? Just music across the country and.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying with the mountains is a big thing. Like, you could have a whole thing happening in Calgary or whatever, but nobody will have heard of it like on the other side of the mountains in Vancouver. It's just like a whole other world there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of weird. You'll have like different things would be big in Toronto, but like you come out to Vancouver and people are like, who the hell are you guys?
How do you guys feel about the industry, the music industry, say in Vancouver and Canada as a whole? Have you guys been approached at all by labels at all, or?
Well, we've had a bit of discussion.
Yeah, we've dealt. I mean, a thing we find difference, like we said before, the music industry in the West Coast, like in Vancouver, it's younger. Like all the people that are involved in the industry seem to be younger and more hip to just doing stuff, and a little bit more open-minded. Whereas there's a lot less of like that. Well, I'm busy now. A lot less of there's still a lot of runaround, but not as bad as it is in Montreal, where you've got a lot of really people that are out of touch with the music industry that are running, with what's happening today, running the music industry there, and it's pretty jaded,
I agree.
Okay, and the video, you guys just have the one video out now.
Yeah.
How did you like making that? And
well, basically, what made that fun is the production company, which I'll give them a plug right now, Wiener Boy film company.
Yeah, they're up.
We actually have a guy that volunteers at Channel 10 that can go by that label too.
Oh, really? They use Wiener Boy? Really?
Yeah.
Or he calls himself Wiener Boy.
No, we call him.
Oh, okay. So it's no corporation called Wiener Boy. They won't get sued or anything. But that was half the fun of making the video. You know, it's all guys that same age, same basically same scene as us type thing. So basically, when 2 or 3 days later we're shooting the video and we're insulting each other, so right away that you're pretty compatible.
We're not drinking with them quite often.
Yeah. So right off the bat, and they didn't, and anything that we thought was cheesy or we didn't want to do, they thought the exact same thing.
Oh, yeah.
So it was never we didn't. There's no stepping on each other they wanted to pull one way and we were pulling the other way.
They were kind of like the film version of Spice of Life.
Yeah. Exactly. There you go.
Okay. I've heard a TV show by that name too somewhere too before. How about the States? Are you guys planning on making any trips to the States or?
Not this tour, but.
To tell you the truth, I'm not scared of the States, but it's really saturated down there, So I'd much rather try to work on the whole Canadian thing because we seem to be able to get across the country pretty easily,
Yeah.
So maybe it'd be nice to become kind of a big fish in a little pond type thing, get some notoriety happening here, and then go down to the States maybe with some label support or whatever the deal is. But we're really interested in actually going out to Europe. Maybe sometime in the fall or something like that. Maybe do another Canadian tour this summer, so it'll be the third one in 6 months, and then maybe in the fall is take off to Spain and stuff.
Being a grunge band, is there sort of more a mystique of playing over in Europe than say the States? Is there more looking to play London where the the heavy metal scene is a bit different? Is that?
I think I don't know. I spent a bit of time in Europe, and I just find it not so much. I mean, obviously the scene's a lot more hip and happening in London and stuff like that. But the rest of Europe, I think, are really a lot of times they're really starved for North American bands, and they people get really psyched about just seeing North American bands and bands that are from the scene over here that they're just getting a taste of, and especially Eastern European countries, it would be we think it'd be really cool to
for sure.
to tour over there and just to get people that are really just into hearing live music and are not here in a lot of cases people just kind of sit back and impress me
Exactly, yeah. It's not as jaded, and just some of those the Eastern Bloc or ex-Eastern Bloc countries, we friends of ours back in Montreal called the Asexuals.
Oh, yeah.
They were one of the first bands to go in Slovenia and stuff like that, play there, and people are just so starved for stuff. Nothing comes through, right? So that's why some of the better dates on our tour, even in Canada, is some of the smaller cities because they don't get as much stuff, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. That's just the same thing with a lot of places in Europe. Not a lot of stuff comes through.
Gee, that sounds an awful lot like Kamloops.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were when we were parked outside trying to get in the club today, there were a couple kids that were skateboarding outside, and they were obviously into that kind of stuff, and I was thinking, gee, this could be cool tonight. I mean, maybe there's a lot of people that want to see that kind of stuff here. I don't know.
Yeah, they do. Believe me, they do. Anyhow, I guess we better let you guys get back to the club. It might be open by now.
Yeah, maybe we'll get to a sound check now.
Yeah.
And Kent, if you're there, well, they'll be there eventually for you to interview them. And I'd like to thank you guys for this. This is great. I mean,
No, thanks a lot. Thanks for the publicity.
For sure. And we'll get to the Spice of Life video, which is called
Now.
Now, and we'll get to that video now on Drawn to the Rhythm.